Mayor. Good morning. Proud to be back in Syracuse, place I spent many years of college. Never had any encounters with the individuals behind me. I just want to put that out there for the record. So I did want to come back here as governor and, again, show appreciation for everything they do. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge some of our leaders who are here today. Our district attorney, Bill Fitzpatrick, who's been a strong ally, particularly when it came to some very serious and complex investigations and prosecutions involving our prisons. I'm always grateful to him for the manner in which he approached that weighty responsibility. Our Sheriff Toby Shelley here from Onondaga County, grateful for all his work as well. A longtime friend of mine, Mayor Ben Walsh, who I have nothing but high praise and admiration for. You've done an extraordinary job transforming this city, and I could not be prouder to see what's been happening here in this region. So, also our Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens has joined us. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Also, our Chief of Police, Joe Cecil, and we just had a very important conversation with him as well. And I have my Joe Popcom, the Executive Deputy Commissioner from Department of Criminal Justice Services. So I just want to talk about a quick review I had here at Syracuse. We stopped by and saw the Crime Analysis Center. We saw a lovely demonstration from Spot here, but I also wanted to sit down and just talk about something that is quite amazing, and that is the inverse crime statistics that we're now seeing contrasted to when I was first elected and took office 4 years ago. I've been here a number of times, as I mentioned, but we've also realized that there's ways that we can be supportive and help drive down the crime statistics that were really escalating for a number of years. As a governor, I committed over $127 million for technology upgrades. This is called a technology upgrade, one of many examples. And that includes $6.7 million for agencies around central New York. Now, here at the Syracuse Police Department, it's been used for drones, surveillance cameras, LED lighting to patrol hotspot areas. And as I mentioned, you saw an example a little while ago of this robot who really performs a unique job, but also when you think about the uses, if someone's barricaded in a home and it's too dangerous or inaccessible to law enforcement to go in, but you're concerned about what is unfolding there, literally this robot can go into it and use technology to send back photos, send a device, send a phone in there, and really diffuse the situation, putting an officer without putting an officer in harm's way. So over the last few years, I've calculated we've invested literally over 2 years, $30 million of investment here in the Syracuse area to support our gun-involved initiative, $3.2 million money for Project Rise to help the young people. This is so important, to find alternatives to incarceration for them, to give them healthy activities, keep them away from gangs and violence in the streets and put them on a better path for a more productive future. And again, the $1 million for the Crime Analysis Center, which we saw a demonstration of. So how there's 500 cameras around the city, literally watching all the areas that are hot spots, trying to not just solve crimes, but prevent crimes, which is critically important. So that is one of 11 centers across the state that can crack some of our most complicated situations because they're not always defined by geographic boundaries. People and vehicles move across county lines, and we want to make sure we can stay on top of that. So we've our Crime Analysis Center alone has handled 23,000 requests, twice as many as the previous year. We also had to make some serious changes to our laws. This is something I heard when I came to communities like Syracuse, like Onondaga County. Are we doing enough to make sure that our laws are fair not just for the perpetrators? Defendants has been a hallmark of our system of government and our rights, but also is it fair for the victims? And for too long, I never heard from the victims that they had rights, and they felt that they were sort of collateral damage of a system that was skewed too far in the other direction. We worked really hard to change that dynamic, stronger bail laws to keep repeat offenders off the street, stronger discovery laws, which was a major undertaking just in the last session of the legislature, but with support of our district attorneys across the state, we got it done. stronger red flag laws, some of the strongest in the nation, and the results are real, that they're keeping people who could do harm to themselves or others away from having access to a gun. So let's talk about just in 1 year. I mean, I'm not just talking about the 4 years we've been making these investments. In 1 year, just compared to last year, Syracuse crime is down 28%. I mean, that deserves a round of applause for the men and women here, but also our partners throughout different levels of government. Violent crime is down 14%. Shootings are down 15%. As well as when we compare with the 5-year average, the numbers are even more encouraging. If you look at the last 5 years, now this was just 1 year till now, the numbers I just shared. Let's look at the last 5 years. Shootings are down 52%. That's a drum roll. I mean, that is extraordinary to see that decline. Gun-related deaths are down 50%. But also, we had a real crisis of youth violence and youth crime when I came here a year ago and gathered everyone. And we said that car thefts, break-ins and larcenies were, many times it was just young people taking a TikTok challenge, which is what drove a lot of the car thefts. And, we had a 13-year-old steal a car and lead police on a dangerous chase through one of our areas here. Small business owners over in Westcott, over where I used to live, putting up plywood boards over their windows because they're being repeatedly smashed in by teenagers. And so I said enough is enough. I came here a little less than a year ago. I brought together all of our leaders of the community, prosecutors and law enforcement, sheriff, said, what do you need? Just tell me what you need. I'm here to help. And so we went back and brought our all of a government approach. We had Mayor Walsh and Deputy Mayor Owens said, we got to help these teenagers. Number one, more mentors, more job opportunities, more alternatives. And so we delivered $2.5 million to support really the grassroots organizations that are doing God's work to put these kids on a different path. And as I mentioned, car thefts are down dramatically. So I just want to say this. What I have learned is listen to local communities, find out what their leaders need to keep the communities safe, but also how to improve coordination, how to use assets that we have available to us at the state level and make them available here. But a lot of it is listening to localities and then delivering for them. And that's what we've done with resources, technology grants, and finding any way we can to continue the path we're now on, which is making this community safer and a better place to live and to raise families. So I'm grateful for that. Again, I anticipate there'll be even more crime starting tomorrow. But again, the trend has shifted. I'm going to focus intensely on making sure that we can continue in that direction. And if we see any change in that, we'll be back on the ground. We'll be saying, what's happening here? How do we make adjustments? What laws need to be changed? What resources you need? Because I want to make sure that we continue to be nimble, that one crime is one too many. So I also want to thank our chief of police in particular and ask him to come up and say a few words about the difference that is making in his operations, the support we've been giving. Where's our chief?
Right here.
Oh, chief. Come on up here, chief.
Thank you, Governor. Thanks, Governor. Hello, everybody. As the Governor's mentioned in the roundtable, as well as many other people, you will never replace officers in uniform when it comes to crime reduction. Well, what helps us, what becomes force multipliers, is with the LA Tech grant that the governor sent our way. That, as she mentioned, we were able to buy drones with, extra cops cameras, LPRs, license plate readers, the robot dog. All of those things become force multipliers for us in reducing crime out there on the street. How does it do it? Well, she was just downstairs on the second floor. She's toured that center before. She was down there again, and we looked around. There are now over 500 cameras throughout the city right now. We have money for more now, money for replacements. There's a retired officer down there right now as we speak, because people often ask, well, what do? They just help you investigate. They don't prevent. Not true anymore. Almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we now have retired officers that have come back, and they're watching the cameras. Over 500 cameras, and they're spotting things like individuals with guns about to do something violent, someone about to break into a car, someone doing a burglary, someone racing away from a burglary, and they're able to alert 911 to get officers there and prevent crimes. Our numbers are down not only because of the officers on the street, but because of this technology that's come our way through Albany, through the governor's office, because it becomes a force multiplier that helps us continue to drive the numbers down. As the governor mentioned, our numbers are down from everything from stolen vehicles right up to homicides. Homicides down 47.4%. One of the most critical numbers that we look at all the time, in addition to homicides, is the number of people overall that are shot and either injured or killed. That's down 8% and continues a downward trajectory, which means fewer people that are standing around either a hospital bed or a coffin. That's an important number for us because it involves families. All of this comes about because of collaborations with the governor, with Albany, so that we can get these tech grants, we can buy equipment, and we can help the officers on the street with these force multipliers, which is technology. The newest thing this year is going to be this first responder drone that's going to go out to calls and help us again with surveillance, with information before the officers even arrive. That was paid for through this tech grant. And we're going to continue to use technology because technology is the wave of the future, and it helps as a force multiplier for the officers on the street. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a couple on-topic questions, just law enforcement technology here in the city of Syracuse, Syracuse Police, any public safety investments here in Syracuse. Andrew?
Governor, as the leader who convened with other leaders this morning a short time ago, what's the takeaway message in terms of what still needs to be done?
What we need to do now is monitor the situation and to assess our investments, make sure they're working, and where we're deploying individuals. I mean, this is what I'm always doing. I'll put money in a program, but I'm going to step back and say months later, a year later, is it working? This is proof to me is that when I provide a locality with the money they need, I mean, not every police department may want this, but they want drones. Or they might need, as I was up in Plattsburgh, they need ATV vehicles to go into the woods and help find people who are committing crimes or crossing the border there. So I need to make sure that we're continuing to we give resources, but make sure that our policies and the application is nimble enough so I can meet the very specific needs of these areas. But I'm feeling very optimistic about this. We're not taking our foot off the gas. I'm going to continue reading the crime statistics that I do literally every single week to see where the trends are happening. And sometimes, like the car thefts, that literally came out of the blue. That was a TikTok video that somehow, of all the places in the entire country, the young people from Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse were most intrigued. They took the challenge, and more vehicles were stolen in this upstate part of our country than anywhere else. And so we had to be aggressive. I launched a 5-point plan, and it worked dramatically. And those numbers are back to normal numbers of what they had been. So I'm always watching spikes, trends, and asking the localities what I can do for them. If we turn this off by any chance, it's kind of hard to. I was like, Les needs to do something. If that crowd gets aggressive, just send them in. Okay. Stand down. Heel. Good boy.
So, my question is twofold. Are you finding that this is an outlier and other cities are not as fortunate as we are? And are you shoring up the numbers here to get those out front before New York is accused of having high crime, as we've been hearing, and having an excuse for the National Guard to come in?
Well, it's an interesting observation. I even said this directly to the president when he's talking about sending the National Guard to New York City. I said, Mr. President, you need to see our crime statistics. So the answer to your question is, it is statewide. It has been a statewide phenomenon that we've driven down crime. That's what I was talking about, from Long Island to East Greenbush yesterday, or 2 days ago in Albany and in Buffalo and in Plattsburgh. So it is a statewide phenomenon. I'm keeping an eye on the outliers are actually the ones where the crime may not have gone down to the levels we want to see. I'm focused on those, but this is not an intentional strategy in 2025 to say we don't need the National Guard. I've been doing this since August of 21. So this is the culmination of all those years of work and investment and focus, laser focus. I mean, because I said my number one priority is public safety and working with the individuals behind me. in communities all over New York, this is how we do it. So, but I does send a message that we're safer than we were, but not resting on our laurels. No mission accomplished here.
Now we're going to take one more on topic from Mary, and then we'll have time for other questions after that.
And this could be for Chief Cecil or for you, Governor, as well, but how long has this been in operation at SPD? And then was there state funding that helped purchase that? Are there others in New York State, other departments that are using that technology?
Sure, great question, Mary. It was purchased fully with LA Tech grant money from the governor's office. It's been in operation for less than a year, probably 6 months. Is that about right? But we have used it on actual barricaded situations. It can open doors, it can go upstairs, it can go in, it can listen, it can hear, it can watch, and it can actually talk. And it will, as the governor mentioned, it will certainly save flesh and blood canines from going in there. And I think down the road it will actually safeguard officers, our SWAT members, and even the subject that's inside will come out as a result of this robot. We'll get a satisfactory outcome because of this robot.
All right, before we move to off topics, we'll excuse our guests over here, and the left over here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate
Thank you very
it.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks for your time. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, of course. I guess, okay. Well, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for everything, Governor.
Good to see you. Well done. Before I take any off-topic questions, I want to speak briefly about a stop I made early this morning. I had the opportunity to meet the owners of Nutrition Bar Confectioners, a family-owned business that's been operating here for almost 50 years. As many of you know, that location was the subject of an ICE raid, an enormous raid, and I had a chance to talk to the owners, the father Mark, his sons Lenny, Mark Jr. and Jeff, and Corrine Schmidt, about what they endured and what's been happening for the last 11 days since that traumatic event occurred. First of all, for the business, they're struggling to keep their business afloat. I walked the factory lines that were idle. They make products that are sold in Costco's and Walmart's and stores all across the world, nutrition bars, and they showed me the assembly lines that were silent, where workers had just 12 days ago. They showed me the workers that were still there, but many of them have been traumatized. And many other workers have just not returned, some involuntarily. They've been detained by ICE. There was a raid of over 70 people. I believe 57 are still missing or unaccounted for or in places unknown to the owners. And there's others just too frightened to come back. And what happened on that day was, and I heard this from Corrine herself, she's, a woman who just stood next to me and said, I could not believe that our little business here was subjected to a raid. People wearing masks, bursting in the doors with guns showing. And what they literally did was separated people by the color of their skin. They literally had white people over here and brown people over here is how they said it. And that separation was cruel. To me, it was un-American. It was abhorrent to see that kind of activity and know about it in our own country, much less our own state. And this is what was described to me by the owners. And basically, they rounded up 69 people, all of them Latino at the time, again, sorted by the color of the skin. I was in that room today. I saw where this trauma unfolded. And it just makes you pause. Is this really what America has become? Where agents who claim they're there to deal with violent criminals, turns out they only had administrative warrants. They didn't even have criminal warrants. They misrepresented the justification for even coming on the grounds to the owners, who they were told stay over here because there's someone who, homicide suspects are on the grounds, which was truly false. So the owners were lied to. But is this in America where we want to have people separated by the color of their skin or where they're from, regardless of whether they have papers or not. One male agent burst into a woman's restroom, literally yanked her off the toilet, and made her line up with everyone else. I don't know what you say after describing that. It is so deeply appalling. If it was happening in another part of the world, I would still be shocked. But it's happening in our own great country. They never found anyone who was a violent criminal. They basically paralyzed a business. They don't have enough employees now. But think about the people who have been separated from their families. There are 3 moms with babies under the age of 1. One was 8 months old, and the mother was nursing the baby. They are still separated. I'm a mom. That's hard on the mom. It is traumatic for the mom. It's also very unhealthy for the baby to be weaned so abruptly, so shockingly. I called Tom Homan after this, asked for help. At least can we take care of the moms, get them back with their babies? I'm still waiting to hear back. He was not familiar with the circumstances. Said he'd look into it. And I have told him in the past that I will help you. The state of New York will help you. Law enforcement at my disposal will help you if you truly are working to eliminate the threat of violent individuals from our communities. That is a proper use of your uniform, but not taking apart, shattering a family. Kids are afraid to go to schools now. As I've said, workers are afraid to come up back to work, even those who remained. I normally don't talk about the private conversations, but Tom Homan knows I'm still waiting. Still waiting. So these are the worst of the worst. These are the bad ones, the violent criminals, the ones you're supposed to be afraid of. It's a mom with a nursing baby. Hardworking people doing jobs in a part of our state where it's hard to find workers. There aren't a lot of people living in Cayuga County. And as the owners told me, this was their family. This is how they felt about these individuals. This was family to them. So Corinne's still walking the hallways, thinking about it, processing it, worrying about families. I'm also concerned because when you focus on separating families and doing what they did with no legitimate purpose that you've espoused, you talk about what we're going to do to stop crime. Maybe you ought to redirect your resources as we've done here. I mean, maybe there's a lesson from places like Syracuse. When there's a need, you fund it. When there's not a need, you don't have to fund it, right? It's targeted, strategic approach to law enforcement. So I want to know why the federal government put more money into these ICE raids, but have hurt local law enforcement because they've eliminated millions and millions of dollars from localities for their law enforcement efforts. Department of Homeland Security cut $87 million for counterterrorism work in New York. $87 million cut from counterterrorism work in the state of New York. So they could bolster up the ICE agents, buy them more masks, I presume. So that's bomb squads, tactical teams, and K-9 teams, hazardous material response units that will not have the funding they had in the past. I ask, does that make you feel safer, New Yorkers? No, it does not. In this region alone, $400,000 cut from this police department, from this region, to help stop terrorists from doing harm here. And I'm not just talking about foreign-born terrorists. We've had domestic terrorism in our own state. Need I remind you what happened in Buffalo? just a few short years ago. That was a domestic, homegrown terrorist, radicalized online. That's happening right now. When I leave here, I'm going to Albany. I'm gathering elected officials from around the state, Democrats and Republicans. I'm giving them a security briefing, which is chilling when you see the statistics and how much the rise in hate crimes has gone up, the online threats, direct threats against elected officials and various groups across our state. The data I'm going to share with you after this briefing, but that's later today. Central New York is poised to lose more of the things that keep us safe. Let's reshift, let's refocus, let's get back to what keeps people safe, not separating families, not harming a small business that was looking to expand in a couple of weeks, who now have to put that on hold because they don't have enough workers. And sure as hell isn't separating babies from their mothers. That's what I experienced this morning. Any questions?
All right, we have time for 2 quick questions because time is short. Mary?
Governor Hochul, based on what you just said there, you suggested that the warrants were not the proper type of warrant because we were hearing from law enforcement agencies that were part of, traffic security in that local area, that it was executed, given permission by a federal judge. Are you suggesting that those warrants were not the proper warrants?
My understanding is, and this is from what was revealed at our meetings this morning, and what is known is that these were administrative warrants, not criminal warrants. There's a difference.
So what does that mean, I guess?
It means that one is a criminal warrant when they tell the owners, stay in your vehicles because we have a warrant out for a violent criminal who's may have committed homicides, which is what was told to Mr. Schmidt, keeping him in his car for hours instead of going on to the property where he wanted to be. That was not the truth. It turned out that they had only had administrative warrants for individuals. And there's a vast difference between someone you're searching for committing a homicide and those where you're doing routine immigration enforcement. That's the distinction.
And I just had one other follow-up. The other raid that you had alluded to in an original statement about the Cato raid was one suggested in Volney, possibly in Oswego County. Where did you get that initial information about that? And is there anything from your original statement that you'd like to amend or retract about what happened there?
What is the details on that? We get back to you on that one. Okay, we'll get back to you on that.
You spoke to the owners today, and they mentioned that they were told some homicidal suspect was on the grounds. I also interviewed the Cayuga County Sheriff on Friday, who was part of that raid as well. They had a periphery role. He was also informed by the federal government that that was a criminal investigation. He won't go this far, but I'm wondering if the federal government misled multiple people, whether it's the owners, the Cayuga County Sheriff, authority partnerships they were trying to build. Do you have any suggestion that maybe they misrepresented that story to a lot of people?
I only have direct information I can confirm from what was told the owners. They were told they were looking for, I believe, 2 homicide suspects. And they said, the owners said to me, that turned out not to be the case. So I don't know what was told to other members of law enforcement.
I was able to attend the briefing with the U.S. Attorney, John Sircone, last week, and I asked him about the continuity of the economy if this were to keep happening, and he was threatening other businesses to not do this. And I just wonder, for our region, for your entire state, what do you tell business owners who are now terrified if they have anyone undocumented, even peaceful workers?
That is the conversation I had with these owners. They don't understand why there's just an assault on businesses that are generating jobs, that are generating economic output. In a place like Cato, it's a very beautiful rural area, but you're not going to find another place to hire upwards of 200 some people, and they wanted to expand it. They literally took me into a new warehouse ready to go to contain millions of pounds of ingredients for their bars, their nutrition bars, and it is almost empty. So you've harmed them economically, you've harmed the region, and you've also created this chilling effect on other businesses. No, it'll have a widespread effect. I mean, it's not just here, it is farms all over New York, but also businesses. The damage is being done. And I personally think that these federal representatives don't give a damn. Don't give a damn. Because otherwise, you're violating laws by shipping people off, deporting them without their due process, without even having a chance to talk to their lawyers. This is what I heard this morning. They desperately wanted to call their lawyers. They were not able to call them. Isn't that as basic as an American right that we have here, that we have in this country? That you can call your lawyer instead of now finding yourself on a plane to Guatemala or a detention center in Texas. They even picked up an individual who was an American citizen from Puerto Rico, held him for a while. It's out of control. It's got to stop. It is not making us safer, and I'm fed up with it. I will help the federal government go after serious offenders. We have, and we will continue to do so. But stop terrorizing our families and our businesses. Just go listen to these people and their voices. They will not recover anytime soon. The trauma is real. They're reliving it every day.
All right, thank you, everyone. That's all I
All right, thank you, everybody.
Your mayoral endorsement in New York City?
Happy to. Yesterday, I endorsed Zohran Mamdani. I've made it very clear that we have differences, but I also believe that he brings a sense of optimism and the can-do spirit, a positivity that I believe our city needs at this time. And we all know that there's a lot of work that occurs at the federal, at the state government level once the budget starts and our priorities are unfolded. And I want to continue focusing on affordability, public safety, and making sure he will know that this is a great state, it's a great city, and to work with whoever the next mayor will be. And I do believe it'll be Zohran Mamdani. I do not agree with many of his views, but running a state government or a city government is very different. It's about making sure that the garbage gets picked up, the streets are safe, you deal with homelessness, you deal with subway safety, which I'm focused on intensely. So, I disagree with many statements, and I've said that. But also, I believe that we need someone who's going to be open-minded and optimistic and have an attitude, a can-do attitude that I share about knowing that the city's best days still do lie ahead. So thanks, everybody.
Governor Kathy Hochul recently held a press briefing in Syracuse, emphasizing the importance of technology upgrades for law enforcement in New York. Returning to the city where she spent many years during college, she expressed gratitude to local leaders for their work in improving public safety and reducing crime. During her visit, the governor acknowledged several key local officials, including District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick, Sheriff Toby Shelley, and Mayor Ben Walsh, praising them for their dedication to making Syracuse a safer place. She also mentioned the efforts of Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens and Chief of Police Joe Cecil in addressing the city's public safety concerns. A significant portion of the press briefing focused on the $127 million in funding that has been allocated for technology upgrades across the state, with $6.7 million directed to Central New York. This funding supports various technological tools for law enforcement, including drones, surveillance cameras, and other resources designed to improve crime-fighting capabilities. Syracuse's police department has benefited from these upgrades, using funds to implement innovative tools such as robots, surveillance cameras, and LED lighting in high-crime areas. The robots, for instance, have been used in potentially dangerous situations to send real-time photos and information to law enforcement, allowing them to assess a situation without putting officers in harm's way. The governor pointed out that, over the past 2 years, a total of $30 million has been invested in Syracuse to support initiatives aimed at reducing gun violence, including a $3.2 million investment in Project Rise, which provides alternatives to incarceration for young people, encouraging them to engage in positive activities and stay away from gangs. In addition to these programs, the creation of a crime analysis center has been funded, with a $1 million investment helping track criminal activity throughout Syracuse. This center operates 500 cameras around the city, not only solving crimes but also preventing them by monitoring high-crime areas. Recent crime statistics in Syracuse show a 28% reduction in crime over the past year, with violent crime down 14% and shootings down 15%. The decline in gun-related incidents is even more significant when compared to the 5-year average, with shootings down 52% and gun-related deaths down 50%. The governor attributed much of this success to the investment in technology and a stronger focus on reducing youth violence and offering mentorship programs to young people. Governor Hochul also addressed the recent changes to state laws that have contributed to improved public safety. She highlighted the implementation of stronger bail laws, which keep repeat offenders off the streets, as well as stronger red flag laws, which prevent dangerous individuals from having access to firearms. These reforms have been instrumental in maintaining safer communities across the state. Chief of Police Joe Cecil shared how the technological investments have become force multipliers for officers, helping them prevent crimes and investigate incidents more effectively. The addition of 500 surveillance cameras, drones, and robots has significantly improved the police department's ability to monitor the streets, leading to a decline in incidents such as car thefts and homicides. One of the most significant advancements has been the use of a robot dog, which is being utilized for high-risk situations, such as barricades, where sending a human officer in would be too dangerous. This technology not only helps reduce the risk to officers, but also ensures that potentially dangerous situations can be handled with minimal harm to everyone involved. Governor Hochul concluded the briefing by emphasizing the need for continued monitoring and assessment of the resources and technology being deployed across the state. She committed to ensuring that the state's investment in public safety remains effective and adaptable to the needs of local communities. She also pledged to keep focusing on the safety of New Yorkers, ensuring that crime rates continue to decline and that law enforcement has the tools they need to maintain public safety. The briefing highlighted a promising trend in the fight against crime, showing that with the right investments and technological innovations, communities can see real improvements in safety, crime reduction, and the well-being of their citizens. However, the governor also warned that the work is far from over, and her office would continue to assess and adjust strategies to ensure ongoing success.